Oh, it's a beautiful day out here for the garden, last day of March. What I'm going to try to do is I want to identify where I want to put my strawberries this year. I have my blueberries and raspberries and blackberries up here in the front. And then my grapes are all back here. I think the best place to do this is going to be over here where the frost cover setup is. If I can clean this up, I can take off the cover. The tomatoes were here last year, and I think that for the size and number of plants I have and the two varieties, I have a divider that's right in here that I can use. I think that'll be the best thing because all my other plants are going to be shorter and it won't affect the sun. And in this particular place, it gets sun all day long until about 3 or 4 o'clock, and that'll be time enough for it. So I'm going to start cleaning this off, and then I'll come back to you, and we'll look at what we got to do once we've cleaned it off and are ready to start. Welcome back to the strawberry new patch that we're going to start. I have worked up the ground. I'm going to show you in a minute, and then we're going to take and create the rows, but we have to put the manure underneath of the rows first in order to be able to get them so there'll be fertilizer for them all year long. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera so you can see what the ground looks like now compared to what it was back then. You can see that we've cleaned it up and it looks really good now. Everything's ready to go. Now you see that I've taken and dug a trench that'll be the center of the row so that I can put the manure down in there. Then we'll cover that back up. Then we'll do the second row, which will be on that side. So hold on.
Before covering up the manure, you want to put down some lime. The manure is going to be somewhat acidic to the soil, so adding the lime now will lessen the acidity from the manure and help exchange nutrients with the plant's roots.
Now you can see I've added the lime and it's ready to go, so I can go ahead and start covering up. Well, we got both of the rows buried with the manure. Now I want to show you the fertilizer that I want to put down. It's simply just 10-10-10, equivalent to 10 nitrogen, 10 phosphorus, and 10 units of potassium, and potash. So the thing I want to do is spread that out before I ridge the row. That way the fertilizer is uniformly mixed up into the actual row. When you're ridging the bed, you don't have to put a lot on there to raise it up, but you do want it to be fairly uniform. So all I do is I take the hoe and I just reach in and get a little bit of the soil, put it on top of what I already ridged, because I went down the other way. I get it piled up. Then as soon as I do that, I'll turn around and I'll tamp it. That way it keeps it as a mound and it gives me a flat surface to be able to plant into. Doesn't take much, but you just go right down to where that row is. And there you have it. Now I'm going to do the other row, and you'll be able to see well how it's all done. Now the two beds are ready. The two rows, I should say, are ready. And all we have to do now is go ahead and put the plants in. And then because it's still cool in the evenings, I am going to put a frost cover over top of these so I can make sure they don't get too cold. and possibly burn them up. So the next time I come back, we'll have our plants here and we'll be ready to start. Thanks. Back again. Now we're ready to put these plants into the ground and give them a home. Wanted to show you that some of them have already started to runner. Each one of these places, the roots will go down into the ground and create another plant. So when we plant these, we don't want to plant them real close together so that they can go ahead and fill in as we go along. You'll notice how beautiful green they are. We've got these these are Ozarks. We got them probably about 6 weeks ago. And because it was so cold and the spring wasn't right, I put them in pots and they've gone on and done really well in the greenhouse. Now I can go ahead and put them out into the field. So I'm going to show you how we do that, and we'll get these in the ground and be ready to go. Okay? Well, I'm ready to put these plants in, and I wanted to show you there's some couple different ways you can do it. Now, remember what I didn't tell you before was that I soaked these plants and made sure they were good and wet before I brought them out here. That way I don't have to add water to the hole when we're actually putting them in the ground, okay? So, you got a choice of using a trowel or a hole digger. Whichever one that you feel more comfortable with, is up to you. I grew up using trowels, so I'm just gonna use the trowel. I'm gonna stay about 6 inches away from the end, and I just wanna dig down so I've got enough of a hole, like that. Then I'm going to take this plant and I can bring it out and see all the nice roots that are on this. Because it's all nice and wet, I don't have to worry about it because it'll go for a long time. Now, if I see a flower, remember what we were talking about, you have to pinch those off. We don't want the flowers to bloom right now because it takes the energy away from the roots. So, we got this one, and of course it's got a runner, so I'm sure it'll go someplace real soon. This is a half of a 36-inch green fence post. The recommendation is to always plant your strawberries about 18 inches apart. So if we're going to do them 18 inches apart, then all I have to do is set this down here, and now I've got a new spot to put the next one in. I'll put one more in. And you notice I didn't have to put any more fertilizer in because I put a large amount in earlier. So there we go. Make sure, remember we were talking about packing around the roots so that the roots stay nice and tight, all like that. So we're going to go ahead and run down this whole row, and we'll see you in a few minutes. I wanted to show you how I put my irrigation on. I try to put one row of irrigation right down alongside of the plants and the other one in the middle so that the roots will start working themselves toward the middle to be able to get to the water. And it's very simple to put in, and the biggest thing is just about every 2 feet you put a side staple in the ground so that you can hold it in place. Because after you've gotten everything in place, then you can take and put the pine straw over top of it, and that'll keep it cool in the summer and helps to keep some of the weeds down for that too. So I'm going to finish this up. You can actually, what I've been doing is I've been reusing some of the side staples. Here's one of the older ones that I had, and as you can see, all you do is just bring it over and push it down in the ground. Try to get it down far enough so that it'll hold, and then just move on to the next one to get them all in. Okay? All right, next time I come back, I'm going to show you how do we mulch this. One additional thing that you need to do when you put your irrigation up is to test it before you cover it with your mulch. That way you'll be able to see if you have a couple emitters that are not working, that you'll know that you may have to compensate for it. It's just like in this one, this unit is a little bit older, and I see that there's a couple places that the water is coming out, but not coming out at the same rate. You can see up and down the bed where it looks really good and there's water coming out, but then there's other places where it's not as much. It just means we're going to have to run it a little bit longer than we normally would so that we get enough water to feed all the plants instead of just some of them. Once you get this, now it's time to get ready to do the mulching, and we'll come back. I'll get some of the mulch and we'll show you what's going on. Okay? Okay, we've got the pine needles make really good mulch for strawberries. When you put them down, you can take and when you separate the little squares, the blocks, you pull them apart and just sort of lay them in so that it gets really good spacing in between. You know, you can lay them down, get them all down. Once I put it in here, I'm going to come back and actually put it in around the plants. But I'll take a little bit of it at a time and put it up here so I can reach it. And then you take and come in here and sort of just spread it around each plant. And get it up, you know, if you can, get it underneath the plant so that it'll protect it. Now I'm going to finish this and then I'll be able to show you what it all looks like. Okay, well, I got all of the pine needles on. You see how it's basically covering around them, all the plants. What that does is it protects them from wind, also protects them from frost. In case it gets a little bit colder, the pine needles will take care of that. But you can see it, how it's gotten, and we're going to take and follow this all summer to see how it goes. The irrigation worked really well. Everything's running good. So we'll have to see how everything plans out. Okay? That's all for now. I will talk to you soon. Bye.